I trust you found out, if you haven't yet, but will. The Lord is not one to kick you when you're down. He knows when you're down, and He knows what's ahead when you're down. But He's also not one to waste, if you would, a teachable moment, right? And sometimes when we are at our most down, at least that feeling to us, we're pretty vulnerable. Things can be inserted that otherwise in our hard pride or exalted sense of self-esteem, we would just brush off, we just wouldn't take it to heart. But when we're broken in some way, things go in and actually can come out too. So it was a while ago, and I've spoken about this before, and the wonder of it, the very wonder of it. I don't mean to diminish it at all or make more, God help me, make more of what may seem an unfortunate hearing. But I was in the midst of losing pretty much everything. Family is really what it was, And the word of the Lord came to me. To him who has, more will be given. But to him who has not, even that which he thinks he has shall be taken from him. And I was in that situation. It was plain to me. The things that I thought I had that were mine to keep, irremovable, so to speak, they were being stripped from me. And the thing was, it was rightly so. I knew that in some sense. The Lord had been dealing with me already before hearing that to understand how miserable a soul I had been and was. But when that word came to me, to him who has, more will be given, even that which he thinks he has shall be taken from him. I knew everything was being taken, but it didn't matter in the sense I knew the Lord was speaking to me. If you've been in the situation, you understand it. It's like the teacher telling you you're wrong, but the teacher is speaking to you. The fact that you're wrong means so little compared to the awesomeness of the teacher who was speaking to you. And I knew of whom the Lord was speaking and to whom the Lord was speaking in that. Me. I was hearing from Jesus like I couldn't compare in any way, but you might say like I'd never heard from him before. So particular, so exact, so I am the man. That's me. Jesus is speaking to me. And so the wonder of that, which was wonderful, and thanks be to God, sustained me even when I felt like I was unsustainable. For there was more to come in sorrow about that losing that I didn't know yet, in the sense of how much it would pain me to have to let go and acknowledge that it was right that it be taken from me, and I make no effort to try to keep it. It was not mine to try to keep. It was what I thought I had, but it was never mine to try to keep. And it would only have caused more grief and sorrow to exercise any impetus in that direction. And so I entitled this thing, how the terror of the Lord helps deliver me from fears. And I think you'll understand in that context that when God speaks to you about certain things, even if it's the fact that you're shown so irresistibly wrong, you can't defend it, undefensibly wrong, that it's God showing you, and that's okay because it's God. And my fears, which I have found, not unlike many, are calculated often, attendant to things I may think about doing and could go a certain way or might go another way. But generally speaking, the fears are things that are anticipated as could happen. My almost evaluating, well, what's the worst that could happen? And in that, I didn't see the pride in that. I didn't understand the pride in that. Me thinking I knew the worst that could happen. And therefore, if the worst looked terrible, you don't undertake in that direction. If the worst looks bearable, you pursue, if need be, cautiously, but you don't pay as much heed, you know? And so much of my life was based on that. So much was that calculation of risk-reward, right? But then the terror of the Lord that revealed the pride in that, which again is the voice of the Lord speaking in such a way to not rub my face in my pride, but to use it as a teachable moment to show it. And I saw that all of my calculations of what's the worst that could happen were almost as though they were answered by God. You have no idea. You think you know what's the worst that could happen. But you have no idea where your pride is leading you in that. And the terror of the Lord, that things could be so much worse than imagined. Now I know it's a hard thing to express without sounding either negative but when I saw that was linked to pride, and I saw that it was in one way the Spirit's working to help me both identify and, if by grace, in the recognition and confession of it, be some way further cleansed of it, then it was greatly to my benefit. And I guess I would use, I thought about this. I said, what's a thing that might make sense to somebody? And I was thinking about Korah's rebellion, And God help me, I'm speculating. But it wouldn't be hard to imagine that Korah thought, well, the worst that's going to happen if this kind of uprising don't succeed, I'll have to take some crap from Moses or something like that. If this rebellion, he wouldn't have seen it as rebellion. I'm sure Korah saw it as the exercise of his righteousness. But, he couldn't imagine the ground was going to open and swallow him. No matter what, I think, was on his table for consideration of what could possibly be the worst that could happen should he not succeed or fail. I don't think in his wildest imaginations he thought that the earth could open and swallow him and his followers. And so that's what I mean when I say, when I fear and I begin to imagine what could happen, maybe that's the worst that could happen. And God rebukes me to a right fear of him. That fear is gone. That other fear is gone. When the Lord is my dread and what he can do by even seeing, as the scripture says, these things happen to them as examples for us, to take to heart some of those examples and learn and hear, wow, I am not able to account for all the variables by any means, let alone any of them. If I can't account for all of them, it doesn't matter. Accounting for any of them is useless and futile, vain and prideful. So I guess that's what I'm trying to, if I'm trying to do anything here, is express that. How the terror of the Lord is a wonderful shield. The terror of the Lord keeps us from fear. At least the fears we would imagine. And I'm reminded of that scripture. Let the Lord be your dread. Fear the Lord, ye his saints, and let him be your dread. See, when all of that is focused, whether it be either fear or love, when it's focused down to the one who is deserving of all of it, we find a wonderful thing waiting, his deliverance. And bless you.